The definition of service is the action or help of doing work for someone. As Christians, we are not only encouraged but required to serve. We don't just serve God, but we also serve His children. But something that I learned is that service is much more than physical. Service can also be for the mind and the spirit. I lived in Milwaukee for all of my 19 years on this earth. I knew that the city had some issues, but after watching the service project, it really opened my eyes on how bad the city is really doing. The pastor told us that the city has a poverty rate of 29%. It's almost double the national average. Furthermore, 39% of those are black. 1 in 4 MPS students have been homeless inside of their lifetime. Listening to Pastor Max really opened my eyes to what was going on in the city of Milwaukee. I figured out that the people in Milwaukee were struggling and they really need assistance. But one thing that I figured out was that we aren't just lacking in a physical manner of materials or goods, but also spiritually. Yes, we may be helping them for this day or giving them a nice Thanksgiving meal. But the quote, if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. If you teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime, comes to mind. We're offering them assistance, but only in such a short amount of time. We're giving them a little bit of happiness, but what about the rest of their lives? What about the struggles that they face from day to day? What about the struggles that they're going to face after Thanksgiving? Coming into that room, I felt happy. I felt good that I was helping somebody else, and that made me feel good. That made me feel good, though. What about the other things that were going on in that person's life? Did I think about how they were feeling emotionally, or was I simply just giving a box of stuffing away? It makes me think about what we read, What We Don't Talk About by Adam Davis. Why are we serving? Are we simply serving to make ourselves feel good? Or are we serving to actually fill the needs of the person being served? When you're serving someone, you need to be meeting their needs. You don't need to be serving just to simply make yourself feel good. Like I said earlier, the definition of service is the action of help or doing work for someone. Many people that are impoverished are lacking spiritually, so that's how we need to be serving them. Now, I've been talking a lot about this term, spiritual poverty. But what exactly is spiritual poverty? Well, it's this feeling that those in poverty have. It's not a physical one, it's a mental one. It's the way they think about everyday life. It's a hopelessness, a feeling that no matter what you do, you're not going to be able to get yourself out of that circumstance. Like the pastor was saying, it was a feeling of, even if I apply for a job, I'm not going to be able to get that job. A feeling of, no matter what I do, I'll always be stuck in this situation. That there is no hope. There is no light at the end of the tunnel. Listening to both pastors, it reminds me of some personal experiences that I've had trying to help bridge the gap with spiritual poverty. My mom owns a daycare, and I've noticed that the kids that come in the daycare are very behind in their education. Some of them are bad with their ABCs, some not knowing them at all. They have struggle reading, stuff that they should know at their age and grade level, and some of them have problems doing math. Now, there may be this stigma about black parents that they may not care or they just aren't concerned with their children's education. This is not true. Like the second pastor said, they're inside of a fight or flight moment. They're simply trying to go to work, trying to survive to the next day. That's where me and my mom and her employees try to come in. We try to go in and try to help bridge this gap so that we can end this streak of poverty, so that they can grow up and get better jobs as they get older, so that when they get older that they don't have to struggle to survive every day.
Hi, my name is Janetta Izard, and I'm Christian's mom. And he was talking to me about the class assignment that you all are scheduled on poverty and service in the community. And some of my feedback and some of my observation with owning two businesses in the city of Milwaukee and working with children in our child care where 90% of the parents live in poverty, I get a chance to see up close some of the issues that the families are dealing with, how they affect their children. And one of the issues that I've observed is a lot of our parents have lower paying jobs. A lot of them work in service industries like the fast food industry, or some of them work in the retail industry. And what I've observed is a lot of the families, they work a lot of different hours. Like their schedule is not consistent. They don't necessarily work like a 9 to 5. Some of our parents, their schedules change weekly. They may work first shift one week, next week they may work second shift. Sometimes they work third shift, and their schedule is kind of all over the place. So they're not able to have the structure that's needed in a household to really help their children with routines and going over homework and having a steady routine in the household. And this affects the children's education. And as we all know, education is the key to getting good jobs and having success and pulling yourself out of poverty. So one of the things that we notice in Christian Help is to mentor the children and tutor the children during the pandemic to help them get caught up, because a lot of these families are in survival state. And when you're in survival state, you have a totally different thought process and mind process, because you're focused on providing with food, shelter, and clothing. And so it's not that education is not important, it's just that food, shelter, and clothing are the most important thing. And we also attend a church at Eastbrook where they do a lot of spiritual teaching. They have a free clinic for families who don't have health care. So those are the things that I've observed. If people have access to health care, education, and spirituality, they will come out of poverty. And this is a great way to serve them, because this just don't, like Christian said, give them a fish, but it teaches them how to fish.
Looking back at our course concepts and what I learned on the service project, I learned a lot of things about service. Service is not just physical or material needs. Service can also be spiritual. When you're serving others, you need to be serving the things that they actually need in your life, instead of trying to do the things that are just going to make you happy. Going into a psychology major, I plan on being that for people that are impoverished. Being a black male, I know that I can have a big impact on the community. I can help serve those who may be lacking spiritually. Just talking out their problems or adding encouragement, teaching them how to get out of poverty. These are things that I can do to help end spiritual poverty. Giving service in material form isn't bad. I just want to make sure that everyone knows, and something that I learned is that we make sure that we meet all the needs of those who we are serving. This could be both physically, materially, or spiritually. But remember, as the Bible says, man cannot live off of bread alone. So, to make sure that we meet those spiritual needs as well. Thank you.